Good morning. Happy Sunday. I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about how intense this week has been as far as the solar flares, as far as the things that we've been tracking, right? So, the name of this is like such an intense week. So, I'm going to review some of the aspects and some of the flares that happen, and then I'm going to go right straight into how to support yourself, what you can do for yourself, right? Okay, so wow. What have you really noticed about this week? And I'm going to sort of go check, check down and talk about what I've been noticing. And then I want you to add some of yours into the comments. That would be awesome. Okay, so Monday the 22nd, which was the day after last week's video, through the 23rd, and we sort of waited on the 24th to see if it was going to happen, and it didn't. But on the 22nd and the 23rd, we had 22 M class solar flares. Now, last year in 2003, we had 38 solar flares in the entire M class solar flares in the entire year. And in 2 days, we had 22. And so that meant that we were being hit one after the other. Some of them were 5 minutes apart, some of them were 10 minutes apart, some of them were 2 hours apart. It just kept hitting. And then on top of that, there were two C class and an earthquake in China. And let's see, is there anything else? Just other than the fact that we were being pummeled, absolutely pummeled, right? On the 25th, we had a full moon, first full moon of 2024 in Leo, which is a fire sign. It's going to be intense. It's going to be big, right? Pluto had just gone into Aquarius, and we were in the first hours this week of hours, days, first week of Pluto being in Aquarius and realizing there's a completely different energy that may or may not be affecting us, right? And the one that got me was that on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, so for 3 days, we had Chiron and the North Node shoulder to shoulder. And what that tells me is that there's your deepest wound and your life purpose. So when you look at the North Node's going like, so this is what you're here for. This is where you told me to put this so that you would remember who you are and what you're here to do. And standing shoulder to shoulder with the wound, which is I'm activated, I'm triggered, I need to figure out how to deal with this. All of this happened last week, right? Um, and that North Node, Chiron was opposing the Moon and Pluto. So I have no words. Let's put it that way. I have no words other than to say, if you were to look at it one aspect at a time, it would have been intense. Putting all of those together in the first week, um, or for the first month of January, seems like it was a little intense, right? So, what does this really mean? L- Let's take a look at the week and look, like go in and do your self reflection. What did it look like for you? What did it feel like? What did it what did you notice? And where are you in understanding what's going on for yourself, right? Because you're going to notice what's going on with you. You're going to notice what's going on with your partner and your relationships, your kids, your pets, your workmates. Everything is going to be rattled and shook, right? So I'm noticing that. I don't know if it's me or if it was just the general collective, but social media was like meh. Nothing was grabbing me. Nothing was getting my attention. It was flat. There weren't a lot of things that sort of gave me, thank you. I know what's going on now. It was just this redundant over and over and over again message of either Pluto or the full moon. And none of it was grabbing me, right? So that's what I noticed is that it was dull. It was repetitious and I was bored. And I'm not someone who gets bored very easily. I like to watch all of that. Um, I'm noticing that very little of what I used to do is working. The things that I used to like to do, like if it's quiet, get a book out, get a nice warm blanket and sit on the couch and start to read. Couldn't hold my attention, would cook. The food wasn't coming out the way I wanted. It was really interesting because it was either the things that I used to distract me or the things that I used to support myself just weren't hitting in the same way that they have before, right? So symptoms were the same as some of the symptoms I've been listing, and there were some different ones outside of the exhaustion and tiredness, right? There was some crankiness and short tempered. There was a little bit of a I got flipped off a lot in intersections. It was very odd, very short tempered. Ill at ease, I would say, sort of lot the continuing aches and pains and sort of this irritability, headaches, ears ringing, and then there's this lack of connection, this lack of desire. It's as if the things that you want to grab a hold of just don't want to be held in your hands. They don't want to be held by you. The other thing I noticed is that weight or puffiness or inflammation is going up and down. Food, either I'm eating a lot or I'm not eating very much at all. And what I'm eating is doing weird things to my body, my digestion system. So know that your weight's going to fluctuate. Know that your what else do I have here? Is that your routines? So some of the routines are going to be flat, whether it's how you exercise or the processes you do, the meditation. They're just sort of leaving because they no longer hold the same thing, and the new ones aren't really there yet. We're in betwixt, in between, sort of no man's land, right? So these patterns, these things that we are doing, aren't satiating us. They're not taking care of us and nurturing us the same way that they used to. And we're navigating a new territory, which is, well, then what do I need to do? And that hasn't really presented itself. So it's a very intense week because we don't have the guidance that we usually have or the intentions. And so what I've noticed is that between the tarot classes I teach and the girlfriends that I meet for coffee, um, the the people that I interact with, the symptoms are the same. It's intense. It's challenging. They don't know what to do, but they're sort of on their toes, looking around like, hmm. So what I would offer is that this is what I've been coaching for 25 years. Started with the family system, and what happens when a teen or a young adult just breaks the patterns and starts going their own way, and the whole family system has to change and adapt around that. And those kids are usually creatives and sensitive. So I've been training for decades with this idea of what happens when energetic beings start to rock the boat in systems. And so now I'm doing that on an individual level, right? And looking at self-knowledge and the choices that we all can make and how to provide stability. So if this is something I can help you out with, by all means, contact me for coaching. We can do individual sessions or we can do packages, whatever works. So I have 6 tips for you on what to do. The tips are the tips are interesting. They just fall right out of me when I start to write. So the first tip is to really, again, continue to build your observer. Relax the control and fear that's going on in your body, which is, I don't know what's going on, grip, tighten it, try to control more. That's not going to work. You have to slow yourself down. You have to go into your observer and you have to start making connections like, oh, I'm feeling off. My kids are feeling off. The cat won't get off the couch. The cat's got something going on with its digestion. um the people at that school drop off are quiet and they're not waving, like think about it, start to put those connections together, because what we're doing is we're building a web. And I've talked about this in on my Instagram with the Claires. We're building a web of ooh connections. And so what we want to do is we want to pay attention to those connections. What you're seeing, what you're experiencing, what you're feeling, what you're doing. So watch. That's the first thing. Watch. Be the observer. Number 2, validate and support yourself. Like, oh, okay, that's what that is. I'm really, really tired. I'm really cranky. I'm very hungry and don't know what to do to make my body feel good right now. So it's your moods. It's what do you need? How do you know what you need? How do you start asking for right now, for today? This doesn't have to be the lifelong plan. For this hour, for today, what do I need? So you stay in the present, right? You stay in the present and you adapt and you support yourself. Okay, let's start drinking more water. Let's sit down. Let's take a little bit of a rest. Nothing can be pushed right now. I cannot meet these big deadlines. I'm just going to start going one step at a time. So, what we do is we validate and we support ourselves. Number three, communicate. The most important thing is to do what I'm doing here, which is to say, "This is what I'm noticing. What are you noticing?" And then we can sort of chat about it together, right? So then we don't feel like we're losing it and or there's something wrong with us, and we get out of some of those fears of what's going on. What we are actually talking about is, "This is what I noticed. Did you notice that?" "Yeah. Wow, people are irritable. I'm irritable. I'm tired. I'm wondering what else you're feeling." And then you share your observations. This brings us together in a community with a community support system that is really essential right now. Okay. Number four, more than anything, relax. The thinker, the producer, the action oriented part of yourself, that masculine energy that's like, something's wrong. I need to go do something, right? Because that part of you takes up a lot of energy. That's the one that's running you down into the ground because it's like, something's off, something's off. What am I going to do? How am I going to do this? Right. So, because there isn't really a path yet. And so the doer can't really get out and do. And the beer has to be the one who sort of chills and observes and says, "Oh, so we don't really know yet. We're just riding this through. January's maybe even first half or the whole month of February is like, just ride this through and let the observer do it. Just chill. Get the beer up and get the doer down. Relax that activated thinking. It will help because the activated thinker is the one who's creating the anxiety and creating the fears, which leads to number five, which is track your thoughts. Are they escalating into fears? When you have, let's say, some digestion issues, does your mind go, "Oh no, what if I've got stomach cancer? What if I need to go to the doctor?" La, 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 la. And it just starts going this monkey mind and it goes into body, it goes into health, it goes into money, it goes into your job, it goes into future thinking, it takes you out of your body and you're spinning. And then when your thoughts are spinning, your whole world starts to spin because form follows thought, right? So what we want to do is we want to track our thoughts and then get back into beer like, whoa, 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 slow this thinking process down. This is a very valuable tool that I have, but not necessary right now. We'll call on you later when we need someone to do something. Super important to recognize, right? So meanwhile, you breathe, you relax, you watch, you observe, you notice, and you trust. Okay. Number six, last one, have compassion because our world is being rocked. Make no mistake, 22 M class flares in 48 hours is something that will continue, that will take any energy system, any sentient being, and rock it. So our world is being rocked and it's invisible and it's unknown and people aren't talking about it. It's not on mainstream because then you are trying to figure out, am I crazy? Or there's this one woman who's got this video who keeps talking about this, but I don't know anybody else who's talking about this, right? Just have compassion. This is new. We're learning how to do something different. So have compassion for yourself, for others, for the sensitives and the what do we want to say? The esoteric and the ancient wisdom holders who are like, yeah, this is energy. This is what happens when energy swirls. And start to realize that all we can do is hold compassion for ourselves, for each other, calm it down and ride it through. I will see you next week. Let's see what happens then.